You'll never get it.
I'm not sure they know.
No, it's changed. It was when we went through our millage plan, I just over and over, when we were talking about equity, because they would use this word and it was interchangeable. It was a word that moved. And when I sat down with our superintendent and I said, I need you to define this word. And he looked at me and he said, standard of service. Now, standard of service, when we were going in to build those buildings, meant that example being like if you went to McDonald's, right? If you go to one in Dallas, if you go to one in Van Buren, Alma, Fort Smith, that you're going to have a similar menu. You're going to have a similar, when you walk in, you're going to have similar facilities. And then when we talk about equity, we're going to talk about standard of service. That was what we went with. That was what I was sold on, and that was what I sold the public on. And that word changed, and it changed about 2 years ago to where now it wasn't about standard of service anymore. It was about if you've got schools, and I'm talking about facility-wise or grades, or when we stopped testing, we stopped doing standardized testing with COVID. Well, you had schools that were 3 miles apart, but they were all over the place grade-wise. Equity then changed into, it meant if one is here and one's here, what we're going to do is we're going to pull one down to push one up. And it wasn't about standard of service anymore. It wasn't about what we were sold on anymore. Now what it is we're going to look at these numbers and we're going to pull these numbers. Last year we had 56% of our kids coming out of COVID with a D or an F. This high school group coming up, that was the senior group. The junior group behind that was 62%. Now, we did this thing where we were going to race to catch them up, and I'm telling you, those teachers they're miracle workers. But there's no way those grades move that fast. And that's when we talk about equity. Now what we're doing is we're pencil whipping those grades.
Yeah. Equity is equality of result. It's not equality of opportunity. I mean, they don't want to talk about equality, they want to talk about equity. And it's equality of result. Whatever it takes to get the result, as Wade talked about. I think there's some good literature. You know, we hear the university up here, they send out the coach up there to talk about, you know, I'm anti-racist. But then they don't define what anti-racist is, because anti-racism is no longer defined as the belief that someone is inferior based upon race. Instead, racism is to be defined as the belief that any group differences cannot be attributed to anything other than racism. So if there's a difference in a particular group's results, then you know, these groups say that it's got to be racism, and it can't be other factors. It can't be cultural. It can't be motivation. It can't be you know, those types of other factors. And he's mentioned Kendi. Kendi contends that racism itself is institutional, structural, and systemic. So what they attempt to do, because racism is structural, institutional, and systemic, they tear down all our institutions. They tear down work is a bad thing. Family is a bad thing. America is a bad thing. The legal system's a bad thing. And that's where this leads if we just let it go that way. So what I'd like to do now, if y'all would like, is anybody have any questions, any comments?